Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Thursday, February 10th, and we're here for my research methods class that is online. Good morning. Thank you so much for all of you who are on here with me. That's fantastic. I see a lot of you getting logged in and getting your names in the chat, which is great. I hope all of you are. I hope everyone's doing well, hanging in there. We are chugging along through February. Hard to believe we're already at like February 10th. The Super Bowl is this weekend. All good things, I suppose, right? But I hope you're all hanging in there and making your way through the semester. We're in week number 5 already. We've passed the like quarter way point of our class, which is it's amazing. I can't believe how quick it is going. Slow days, but fast weeks is how it feels for me. I don't know if you would agree. But a couple of things that we'll do today, I want to go over some stuff for last week. So we'll talk about the discussion. You also had your first exam that I would like to kind of just highlight some statistics and kind of let you know where you fell in relation to everyone else. We'll talk about the things that we have going on this week. I'll give you the Twitch extra credit question, and I will see if you have any questions for me. So that is our plan for today, and I will try not to talk too much about football and the Super Bowl. I'm mostly just excited for the food, right? I'm ready to eat some good food on Sunday and enjoy a game where I don't have to stress about who wins. That is my reframe or rationalization. I don't have to feel sad that my teams didn't make it because I can just watch it and enjoy it and eat lots of good food. So I'm looking forward to chips and salsa and fajitas, and we always do like a big Mexican themed like spread, and I'm very Mexican food themed spread, and I'm very excited for it. So anyway, I will stop talking about food. Right? I'm just there for the snacks, right? You sound like my wife. I'm just here for the food. My kids too. One of my 3 kids likes football and like follows it with me and watches it with me and wants like jerseys and all sorts of stuff, which I'm just so grateful one of them likes it. The other 2 are like, "Oh, really? Football? I'm just here for the food." I'm like, "That's fine. I'm here for the food too." Right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. And the Super Bowl is a great time to eat some good food for sure. So anyway, let's go ahead and go over to Canvas together and take a look at the things that we have going on. So as I said, we are in week number 5. Again, feels like it's moving quickly, but let's go back to last week for a minute and just take a look at a couple of things from last week. And we had APA formatting part 1. So we were just kind of introducing the topic of APA formatting. And what you'll see is that there are 2 more APA units throughout the class where we'll build on this knowledge and talk about, the body of the paper. And then the last part, we'll talk about references and the references page. But for this part, we were more just focusing on, what is APA style, looking at how do we know when we need to use it, what is plagiarism, and that kind of stuff. So if we look at discussion number 4, overall, I was really impressed. A lot of you did a beautiful job of kind of going through these 3 different scenarios and talking about what is APA style, when is it used. Most of you did perfect on that, giving me a perfect explanation of what it is, why and when we use it. The scenarios, the first 2, I think are relatively clear. And then number 3, what I loved is so many of you were in your responses, I could feel your battle, right? You were like, I'm not sure. And I love that you were thinking about it. That actually makes me really happy to see that you were giving it some serious thought. So let's look at these for just a minute, because there was a little bit of confusion, mainly around number 3. But scenario 1, right, you're taking an introductory psychology course that requires a 7-page research paper. You visit the reference desk at the library and get help finding articles on your topic in online databases from academic journals in the field. You copy and paste the most interesting parts of the articles into your paper without putting those parts in quotes or providing any kind of parenthetical citation for the source. But you do list the articles in your references page at the end of the paper. Now, this one is plagiarism, and I would say I think almost all of you got this correct, right? It's plagiarism. You did, this person did the right thing in copying the references, listing the references on the references page at the end of the paper, but not citing the sources for the parts that were copied and pasted into the paper is definitely considered plagiarism. And again, I think most of you nailed this one. totally got this one correct. Number two, a little bit trickier, right? They got progressively trickier as they went along. In your psychology class, you were given an assignment to research 10 different phobias, which sounds like a fun paper, right? And write a paragraph explaining each fear. When you're standing in line to turn in your paper, you hear the person behind you tell her friend, "My sister's a psychologist, so I just emailed her and she wrote back with the answers." Again, scenario number two would be considered plagiarism. So in this example, this person is representing her sister's work as her own without citing or giving credit to her sister. So for scenario two, again, this would be considered plagiarism, not giving credit to the person whose ideas those were. Most of you got this one correct as well. Anytime that it's not your original work, that it's not your ideas, it's considered plagiarism if you don't give that person credit. So when in doubt, it's always better to cite than not to cite. No one's going to be mad at you for citing something, overly, versus you don't want to get into trouble for not giving somebody else credit. So number three, the one that was the trickiest of them all, you receive your assignment for a class and realize that you can write your paper on the same topic that you wrote for another class last semester. Because of the requirements of the assignment, the focus of the paper will be different, but you can use many of the same sources you already read just 2 months ago. Now, again, a lot of you were torn, which I think is great, but this one we would say is not plagiarism. Okay, so if you made a good case for it, you only lost like a point or two. But this one we would say is not plagiarism. So you're using the same sources to inform your arguments, but that's not plagiarism, right? The fact that you use the same sources that you had read a couple of months ago isn't a problem. You are coming up with new ideas, right? And kind of using those sources doesn't constitute plagiarism. Now, if you used parts of your paper that you wrote previously, you would need to cite it, or technically you would be committing self-plagiarism, which is kind of silly to think that you could get in trouble for plagiarizing yourself. But if you copied exact parts of your paper from another class or another assignment, you would need to actually cite those and give yourself credit and mention that you had used it before. So for this one, and I wrote the explanation out for those of you who got this one wrong, we would say that it is not plagiarism. That's really kind of the essence of these three. And I, again, love that you were thinking about it so much. Most of you did a beautiful job. I would say the biggest reason people lost points was on number three. And a lot of you who answered number three incorrectly had the good thoughts there. And so I love that you were thinking about it and thinking critically. So very, very nicely done. Don't forget to respond to a classmate. A couple of you are still forgetting to do this. And you want to make sure you get those 2 points, right? They're a very easy 2 points to get, and you don't want to miss out on them by not replying to a classmate. The other thing that we had last week is we did have our first exam. And I hope that all of you feel like it was a good test. I did write the exam myself. I really feel like it's very straightforward and clear, and that was reflected in your grades. A lot of you did so well. The average score for the exam was just shy of an A. It was like a high 88, low 89% score. And so a lot of you got A's and B's on the test, a lot of A's. The high score was 100%, which is fantastic. And the low score, I wrote it down, I think was a 52%. So there definitely a little bit of a range, but the average score was just shy of an A. And what that tells me is a lot of you are reading, you're following along, you're studying, you're preparing, you're doing all the right things, and your score reflected that. Most of you finished in plenty of time, right? You had a lot of time to spare. If you found that you were a little tight on the amount of time that you had for the test, you might want to consider studying a little bit more, or maybe tweaking your exam strategies. We do have 3 more tests in here. So you want to make sure that you're using this exam as a learning opportunity, right? Use this test as like a platform to decide how you want to approach the remaining tests that we have going on. So if you got a really good score, you're happy with how you did, then obviously the things that you did in this unit worked for you. You can do them again, keep going in the same direction. If you wish that you had done a little bit better, don't despair, right? Don't be too frustrated. If you do these weekly extra credit opportunities with the Twitch streams that we have, you can more than make up for maybe a little bit lower exam score or a missed discussion or something along those lines. It's almost like 30 points of extra credit that you can earn, which would help you quite a bit if you aren't happy with the score that you got on something in the class. Or maybe you had a rough week and you missed a discussion, which happens, right? We're people, it happens. Our lives are a little bit crazy right now, for sure. So if you wish you had done a little bit better, this is a great opportunity to change things up. Maybe as we move through this next unit, start studying a little bit more. Study each chapter as we go through it, so week by week rather than waiting all to the last minute. If you didn't do the study guide, definitely consider doing that next time. Hopefully you have some ideas of maybe what you could change up. And if you ever want to meet and talk about it more, we can set up a Zoom session and I'd be happy to kind of brainstorm with you how you could improve. But most of you should be very, very happy. A lot of fantastic scores. Again, a lot of A's and B's, and very, very nicely done. So I don't know if there are any comments or thoughts about the exam or about week number 4? Any comments about anything from last week before we move on to our next fourth of the class, our next unit, and starting chapter 3? Right? Any thoughts, comments, questions, anything at all? I will let you know that starting this week, and really starting at the end of chapter 2, we're finally getting into more of the core concepts of this class. We're going to start talking about different types of research, different types of assessments and measures, and so on. We've set the stage quite a bit, and now we're going to start getting into kind of the core topics. So I won't say that it gets harder, but it definitely is going to change a little bit starting this week. So this week we start chapter 3, part 1. And I did split up chapter 3, just like I did with chapter 2, so that we could spend a little bit more time kind of setting that stage and focusing on this. So don't forget for this week to read chapter 3, part 1 in the book. So it's only about 11 pages, page 57 to 68. So if we click on the lecture that you will also want to complete, as always, you have your learning objectives. These are the things that we're going to look at. And so we're looking at, in this part, what are the 3 different types of claims that we can make? How do we ask questions to interrogate the 4 big validities? We'll talk about the validities a little bit more and what kind of research we're going to use to support these different claims. So we'll talk a little bit about what are variables, what are the 3 different claims. I gave you some examples here and some examples of variables. And you can listen to the summary or read it. On the Beyond the Book page, I talked a little bit more about correlational research. So we start to get into these different types of claims, one of them being related to correlations. And so I went into this a little bit more than I think the book does at this point, of talking about the different types of correlations, what they might look like, how we can indicate them in either like a numerical or graphical kind of way, how correlation does not imply causation. I made a little video. This was for my intro psych class, but I think it's totally appropriate and perfect for our purposes at this point as well. It might be really helpful to watch this. I give a bunch of different examples, again, from my intro psych course, but it definitely overlaps with what we're talking about here. Going over the 3rd variable problem. So make sure you read through everything here. Click on any links that I give you. Watch any videos that I give you. They're all going to be helpful in understanding the topic. And then on the last page, we have the key terms and review. So I mentioned a minute ago that one strategy you could try if you weren't thrilled with your exam score is studying week by week. So this week we're covering chapter 3, part 1, right? So these are all the terms that you need to know from this part of the chapter. So what you could do is really focus on understanding and studying these terms, which you'll find on the study guide in a couple of weeks. So you could write all these out or type all these out and really get familiar with them, and then just add to it next week when we get to the next part of the chapter. I think that's a really great strategy, so you're not trying to study all of it at the very end. Instead, you can kind of build on it week by week as we go along. Okay. So that is the lecture to complete. As always, I also have a lecture video that I made for you that you'll want to watch, right? So here's the chapter 3, part 1 lecture. And since there weren't any outside clips, I was able to put it on YouTube, which I think is easiest to watch. So make sure that you watch this. You'll probably want to take notes or pay attention, as the materials on here will definitely appear on the next exam. So business like usual, read chapter 3, part 1 in the textbook, complete the Canvas lecture, watch the lecture video where I'm lecturing with PowerPoint slides. As always, you also have a discussion this week. So discussion number 5. So I made a little video, like always, that you can watch. I think these are helpful. I hope you find them helpful as well. I took a few minutes to record them and upload them, trying to just give you a little bit more information. So I hope that you find these to be helpful. I did one for every discussion. So it looks like a lot of you are watching them. So hopefully that means they do help in some way. But watch the little video. Be sure to answer all of my questions. Don't forget to read through a minimum of 5 of your classmates' responses and reply to one of them. And that overall it's worth 15 points, 13 points for your responses to my questions, and then 2 points for your responses to a classmate. And so what I have here, this is your prompt and assignment for this week. So you're going to read the article below. And I have this little article here about 8 ways that screens are ruining your family's life. And really interesting. I have 3 little girls who are all about their technology right now. My almost 10-year-old just got a cell phone, and my 2 7-year-olds are obsessed with their tablets. Right? Screens have become even more so a part of our lives over these last 2 years, where so much has been virtual. But you're going to read this article and then answer the 4 questions that I have right here, right? For sure. Right? And so number 1, summarize the article in a couple of sentences, right? So be sure to include the author's conclusions or findings in your summary. Again, this is a skill that we're going to work on all semester long. I think it's one of the biggest practical things that you can take away from reading an article. If you had to summarize it in just a couple of sentences to somebody who hadn't read it, what would you say? And so you're going to summarize it. Number 2, thinking about the 3 types of claims that we covered this week. What type of claim is the author making? Is it a frequency claim, an association claim, or a causal claim? Make sure that you explain why you came up with that answer. Is the author's claim accurate or justified? In other words, is the type of claim that the author makes in the article actually the correct type of claim according to your readings? And explain. So hint, if you're having trouble determining the type of claim for the article, think about whether the variables were measured or manipulated. Are they related to each other? Can we determine that they cause each other? So again, the idea here is the person making the correct type of claim? Does their type of claim match what it actually should be? And then explain your response. Your higher brain functions are not fully awake. Right? It's still early. It's only 10 in the morning. It's Thursday too. It feels like it's been a long week for some reason. Maybe it's the warm weather. It feels like we're getting hints of summer with the warm weather, and it's making us all have the summer thoughts for sure. Number 3, find 2 different examples in the article of terms or variables that need to be operationalized. Now, when we say they need to be operationalized, what that means is they should have an operational definition. We need to define them in order for them to be successfully measured and or evaluated. So there are several in the article. Find 2 different examples of terms that need to be operationalized or defined in order to be successfully measured. And number 4, think about potential third variables and or the directionality effect. How else could any of the variables or aspects of this article possibly be explained? Okay, so all 4 of these questions are going to connect to the readings and the lectures for this week, and using the article to really pull all of that together. So this is your chance to show off to me that you understand these concepts and that you are able to connect them, apply them, and do all of that together. So when you're ready to answer that, you'll hit reply. And then you'll notice a few people have already done it. Let's say I really like the way that Grace did it and I want to reply to her, I can hit reply, or the way that Nicole answered these and I agree or disagree with her comments, I could hit reply. So make sure that not only do you answer my questions, but you also reply to at least one of your classmates. All right. The other thing that you have this week, you obviously have the extra credit question, which I'll give you in a few minutes. But I added a little self-assessment, and there's a couple of these throughout the semester. And you have the first one this week. Now, this is worth 5 points, so please do make sure to do this. You don't want to lose out on 5 points. But if you click on this self-assessment, we've now completed 1/4 of the class. Our first unit is over, including exam number 1. And I'd like you to take a moment to consider your progress, your grades, your approach to the class, and respond to the questions in the survey. You will receive 5 points for finishing this. And it's really my way of getting you to think about your thinking and to help promote growth and learning and see if you want to change anything up as we move into this next unit. So again, this is worth 5 points. It has 5 quick questions and it's due by this Sunday night. You have as much time as you would like to take it. There is no time limit. So as soon as you're ready, you'll hit take the survey. And the questions, the first 3 are just selecting a response, right? So number 1, I'm doing my part to learn as much as possible. Are you doing this consistently some of the time or not really? Please be honest, right? You're not going to lose points. You get points no matter what you say. So just be honest. This is your chance more than trying to impress me or anything like that. This is your chance just to reflect on what you're doing and maybe what you could do differently or keep doing in the future. On average, how much time have you spent per week? And then do you consistently do the reading and turn in your assignments on time? The last 2 questions are more open-ended, giving you a chance to reflect. What is your muddiest or most unclear point in the reading, modules, discussions, or homework assignments, course activities so far? And number 5, thinking about your score on exam number 1, is there anything that you plan to do differently to be even more successful on the next exam as the course moves forward? So you'll answer all those questions and then hit submit when you're done. You get 5 points as long as you answer each one of the questions. There isn't necessarily a right answer, but I really encourage you to do this. It's a great way to think about your progress in the course, what you're doing right, and then maybe even what you could do a little differently or better as we move into this next unit. So the first 3 things, business as usual, reading the chapter, doing the lecture video, discussion number 5, and then you have that 5-point self-assessment. So I do have a couple other little things, including the extra credit question and some reminders, but any questions for me? Let me put that here in the chat. Any questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all for me before I move forward? Wait just a minute to see if you do have anything. Of course, as always, feel free to put that in the chat if you think of something that you would like to ask. And while I'm waiting for you, let me give you my reminders. I noticed this week a lot of you lost your subscription status. And so, again, I appreciate those of you who took the time to go through and do this. If you linked your Amazon Prime and your Twitch accounts, you already did the hard part. You just need to renew it every 30 days. So if you could please take a moment, either right now or after this stream, to just double check. I can see on my end several of you like Alexis, Nicole, Mallory, Kendall. I think that's it that I see on my end. All you have now next to your name is the little crown, which means that your subscription has expired. So again, if you see that, Kendall, Mallory, Alexis, and there was one more. Where did you go? Kendall, Mallory, Alexis, and Nicole. And I imagine there are some of you too who maybe didn't put your name in the chat that I can't see. But don't forget, you can go back onto Twitch, and all you do is you go to my page and then click on that purple drop down that I showed you before. And then all the way down at the bottom, you'll resubscribe for free. Don't pay for it ever with your Amazon Prime. So please take a moment to do that. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't mean to call you out. I'm just trying to help you. So thank you. But if you didn't do that, or if you have never subscribed, make sure you put your name in the chat at some point. But thank you for all of you who keep doing this. As I mentioned before, it saves me so much time, and time is definitely always precious, right? There's always so much to do. So I definitely appreciate so much those of you who continuously keep yourself in that subscribe status. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Then other reminder is our next Twitch live stream, not love stream, I wrote love stream. Live stream will be next week on Thursday, What's next Thursday? Let's see. Next Thursday is the 17th. Thursday, 2/17 at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you'll notice next Thursday morning, I will be in my office. So I'm at home. Excuse me. I'm at home right now, but starting next week, I'm back to teaching in person. Doesn't affect this class in the slightest, but you will see a different background, and sadly, we will lose the opportunity to have cats join us. But our next Twitch live stream will be on Thursday next week at 10 o'clock a.m., same time, same day, and we'll continue that through the rest of the semester. I also have the Twitch extra credit question for you, so let me put that in the chat so that you can get the 2 points for joining me. So your extra credit question for next week, oops, sorry, it's being difficult here. Okay, so your extra credit question is, what are 2 different ways that correlation can be portrayed or represented? There are 2 different ways that we can talk about or portray or represent a correlation. And I talked about this quite a bit in the Canvas lecture and also the lecture video. And you don't need to necessarily describe them, just list them. What are the 2 different ways that we can represent or portray or show a correlation? And when you're ready to answer that, you'll go to optional Twitch extra credit number 5, since we're in week number 5. Click on that. And then up at the top, you'll click on Start Assignment. And when it brings up the text box, you can type your response in the box below. And once you're done, you'll hit Submit Assignment, Confetti Burst. Nothing else in the confetti today, just confetti. But this is due before Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. If you submit it early in the week and get it wrong, I will let you know, and you'll have another chance to fix that. But you can do this at any time before Sunday night. Make sure you get these 2 points for joining me. There are a lot of you on here with me. There are 29 of you here, which is great. I so, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of you joining me. I know I can't see you, and this is an online class, but when you ask questions and put stuff in the chat and participate, I feel like we are more together than we can be, right, by just having a static online class. So thank you so much for those of you who are here with me. Make sure that you put your name in the chat if you are not subscribed, and feel free to answer that extra credit question to get the 2 points for joining me. And I think that's everything I wanted to go over. Again, don't forget the self-assessment. Read the first half of chapter 3 in the book. Do the Canvas lecture. Do also the lecture video. And then, of course, discussion number 5. So what I will do is I will hang out for the next like 8 to 10 minutes or so. If anyone has any questions for me, you can put it in the chat, and I would be happy to answer it. Otherwise, we're kind of officially done with the things that I wanted to share. So if you need to go, you are welcome to do so. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I think I'm rooting for the Rams, right? Root for the LA team. I love Cooper Kupp. He's a fun one to root for. So I'll root for the Rams, I suppose. I just hope it's a good game. And I'm ready for the halftime show, which is supposed to be great as well. So thank you so much again for all of you joining me. Let's go Rams. I'll agree with you there, right? Go Rams. I hope it's a close game. All the predictions I've read said it's going to be close. Everything's like 27-24 when they're predicting the score for the game. So we'll see. But have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy all the wonderful food and drinks and things that come with the Super Bowl. And I will see you all next Thursday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to minimize my video, but I will still hang out for a little bit if you have any questions. Have a wonderful week. I'm going to put that in the chat. Look out for the commercial for Nope. It's the trailer for a movie I spent 9 months working on last year. Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. I will definitely keep an eye out for that. Sounds like there'll be a commercial for sure during the Super Bowl on that. So I will definitely watch. That's exciting. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I will definitely keep an eye out for it. Yeah, look at right. You had it too. You knew. It is so windy out there. I'm sitting here waiting, and it's just windy, windy, windy. I'm gonna look that movie up now. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I know who Jordan Peele is, but I don't know anything about the movie, so I'm gonna have to look that up right now while I'm waiting to see if there are any questions. You too. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Ooh, a horror film. I love scary movies. So that's exciting. One it's got the guy who played Glenn in it as well. I'm just reading it right now as I'm waiting for all of you. So that's exciting. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting too. Right. Thank you for sharing that. If you wanted to put any more information about the her lecture, feel free to put that in the chat. That's great. Yeah, and I'm looking up the movie right now, which is it looks interesting. I will look for the trailer for sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. It's fun that there's so many guest lectures, and I don't know if that's the case with this one, but a lot of them are being offered, where you can watch them virtually, which is super convenient. You don't even have to travel there. So maybe one small benefit of COVID that there's so many virtual offerings now, which is kind of fun. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I love that. I love the virtual tickets. I feel like it's so much easier to attend so many of these different like wonderful events and speakers that we have because of it. So that's great. Thank you again for sharing that. You too, you too. Have a wonderful week. All right, everyone, it looks like the vast majority of you have logged out. There's just like one or two of you left in here. If you think of any other questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up so I can start the download and upload before my next class here in a little bit. But have a wonderful week, a wonderful day, and I will see you all next week.